Hey, welcome back to the Jacked Up Garage. Today we are going to pull the rocker covers off. We're going to have a look to see what's under there, see if, I don't care if they have a lot of grody oil and grease and stuff in there. What I'm looking for is, do they have a bunch of rust? Are they corroded over to, like the Titanic? If they are, then that's pretty much it for us. We're going to have to pull the motor and just start. We'll start from scratch and get it cleaned up and get it rebuilt. But if they're in decent shape and it can actually run like it is, then we'll continue with getting it to where it can run in the car and go down the road that we've planned to go down, which is trying to get this thing running and driving as is and make it safe for the road, and maybe drive it for summer and then pull it back in here and start tearing it apart to do the complete restoration on it. But let's pull these rocker covers off, then we'll have a look at the carburetor that I pulled off the other day, and we'll have a look at the generator, see what kind of shape they're in, and we're going to have a good time. So hang tight and let me put you down here and we'll get pulling this rocker cover off. Anyway, oops, got 7/16 on from the pulling that support off of there. That's loose. I know what you're saying, Jimmy. Go get you some real nitrile gloves. These are free. Little sample packs. You use them up while you got them. They do, however, grab really bad. And they'll tear. But we're just doing a rocker cover here. Hey, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. Oh, it's wet with oil. Okay, I'm liking that. Yeah. Now, is it dirty? Nasty? Yeah. Covered in sludge? Yeah. But it tells me that there was oil on top of the engine when this thing was parked, so I like that. All right, will she come on? Oh, she did. There's the big reveal. Oh, there goes some oil. Let's set that there for a minute. Let me get a rag. Otherwise known as Mama's old beach towel. You'll never know. There is oil, wet oil, laying up in here, so that is good. It's like it's bleeding oil. Stop the bleeding. I like it. Well, them oil passages are certainly somewhat clogged. That down in there so it can just dribble on it. Got stopped anyway. So yeah, it certainly needs cleaned. But I've seen worse, for sure. Get some of that crap on there. I don't want to do that. Okay. We got 0 lash right now. So are the lifters okay? Another thing you can do is take your rubber hammer and just kind of tap on those to see if it sounds like you're whacking on, solid metal, or if they sound like they got some give to them. So I mean, I see a little bit of rust on those valve springs, but that's not bad. That's not bad at all. It actually looks, to me, it looks pretty good. Pretty good. That oil doesn't look like it's got a lot of water in it from, condensation. So I'm happy about that. I can see there is a cork gasket on there. You can see the break in it right there. and it is dried up as you would expect, but not bad. I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm pleased with that. So that's good. Okay, well, I will just put that back on there and button that back up, and then we will proceed. So what I'm going to do, I may check the other side. We'll do that off camera just to make sure we don't got an issue over there. But I can see all of our push rods are intact. That's all good. I don't see anything that looks like, oh my God, what happened to this engine? And so I'm going to put that back on there. I'll check the other side off camera. And if it's the same, I'll button it back up, and then we'll just go ahead and we'll go on to the next step. Right on. Yeah, took this one off, checked it out too. No surprises under there either. It was exactly the same. So good. Happy with that. So next step, since it will not turn over, obviously there's the rings are rusted into the cylinders, and so the next step is to put some automatic transmission fluid or something down in there. I've seen all kinds of stuff go down in those cylinders to try to break it free. That rust away, ATF. What I'm going to use is the Marvel's mystery oil. I'm going to try it first. Vinegar. I've seen that. A concoction of this and that. Kerosene, diesel fuel, all kinds of stuff. So basically, really all you're trying to do is get something down in there that'll kind of eat that rust away a little bit, just enough to get it loosened and moving a little bit. And once you get it moving a little bit, generally it will go. It'll start moving. So, and it'll strip some of that rust off the walls, and then you just keep turning it over. Now you're going to puke all that, whatever you put in them cylinders, you're going to puke it right out all over everything. So make sure you got, if you like the way your garage floor is, like I do, put something under there to catch it or sop it up or something, because it's going to go everywhere. So let's do that. I'll do that off camera. There's nothing special about putting a funnel in these cylinders and spilling ATF all over the place. So I'm going to do that, and I'll get back with you. Okay, there we go. How well can you see it? There is mystery oil in all the cylinders. Totally full to the point to where they are burping it out. And if you bump the car, it comes out. See that? So totally full. And now what are we going to do? We're going to shut her down on the engine anyway, because I'm going to let that sit for a couple days, come back and top it off, and then we'll get on the crank pulley again, and we'll see if it'll turn that way, and if it won't, we'll get underneath, laying in all that crap, and we will try to turn it from the flywheel if we can get at it. And what I like to do is I like to try to roll it forward and then roll it back. Well, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that on your crank pulley. You'll loosen the bolt right out of your crank. So you got to do that from the flywheel. So we'll try that. Maybe somebody knows a better way. I don't know one. Just lay on your back in the dirt and get you a little Jimmy bar, and be very careful not to, one, snap a tooth off your flywheel, or two, jack up your bell housing. So just be careful. Just be careful. So that's it on this one for today. I think one of the things I'm going to do also is I'm going to get that original washer fluid jar out of there, because I've been so close to swinging a ratchet around or a breaker bar around and knocking a hole in that thing, and I really don't want to do that because that thing is cherry and so rare to find one intact. So I'm going to get it off of there, and that'll be one of our projects too, is get that cleaned up and looking like it should. So ta-ta for now. I'm going to go back and get set up on the workbench, and we'll have a look at the carburetor. We'll have a look at the the generator, and we'll see what we can do about either of those. So hang tight. Okay. So here's what we got. We have a Delco Remy 61U 12-volt generator. Easiest way, I mean, there's other obvious things that you can look at, but if your generator on your car says it's 12 volts, you're running a 12-volt system. So there's some confusion out there as to when General Motors went from 6 to 12 on different models, different makes. But this one happens to be 12. I don't know all the details. Again, I don't know all these things. I just don't. But that definitely tells me, hey, 12 volt. Then we have the Rochester famed 4Jet. Ill-famed, you could say. People don't like them. I don't know why. I mean, they do what they're supposed to do. We take a look down in there. We can see some corrosion. Corrosion on the, on the center body of the carburetor. If we take a look though, oh, they're heavy. I see, looking very close. Where is it? Anyway, try to find it. There's some shiny new bolts on here, which tells me, and if you take a look at those butterflies, it looks like that one's blackened a little bit from maybe some bad timing and getting some backfire through the carburetor. I don't know. Maybe it's just supposed to be like that. I don't know. Oop, there we go. There's a shiny new bolt back in there. I think it's carburetor's been rebuilt. We do have a problem here with our spacer. They look like stacked gaskets. I don't know either. I don't know. But this ain't gonna work unless you want a giant vacuum leak. Problem with the Quadrajets though, from what I understand, again, remember, I don't know. I get all my information secondhand from try to find the people that do know. The problem is if it has been rebuilt, and you can generally tell because there should be either here or here, there should be a tag underneath one of these somewhere in here, and there's no tag, no identification number. Sometimes they were stamped with a identification number. This one doesn't say anything, but Rochester likes to put their name on every corner. So there's nothing. Rochester, RP. Nothing. Made for GM. Somewhere on there is stamped General Motors in there. But so you kind of have to go by your application. There's a guy, I don't know where he's at, but I watch a lot of his videos. Mike's Carburetor. He seems to know every last little detail about these. He's even got videos on there which we will be utilizing in our attempt to rebuild this carburetor. I'm going to contact him and say, hey, which one do I got? I think it's either a 4430 or a 375. I don't know. There's a couple of different carb kits for this year carburetor 4Jet, and I'm not sure which one it is. So I'm gonna send him a message, send him some pictures, and say, hey, which one do I want? And hopefully he can hook me up and send me out a rebuild kit. And I'm gonna need a couple other things. On this choke, the automatic choke has these the cover is held down by these little clips, and screws. And there's three sets. One was missing. I have 2 sets. The third is missing, and I presume that when it was rebuilt and put back together, that the third set wound up in the valley pan, on top of the valley pan under the intake, because there are areas there you're not going to get to. If something goes down in there, you pull the intake to get to it, because there's a shield on the front that prevents you from reaching back underneath there. So I'm guessing he dropped it down in there and was like, well, shoot, two will hold it, because it's the cover, the adjustment cover, which is a pretty cool setup too. Anyway, the other thing that we ran into was, obviously, don't matter how much penetrating oil you put on your, you put on those tubes, put on your lines, that's the, the fuel line, they just twist off. Luckily these are coming out, so we'll just make new lines. It's a pain in the butt, but at least the lines you're going to put in there is going to be cleaned and everything. So the way this choke works is, this is not a spring, this is a bimetal strip, and as it heats up, it takes manifold heat directly from the manifold, and as that thing heats up, of course, it expands and moves your choke over. So it's pretty cool. I mean, that's typically how most of them work, but it's nifty. I like it. If nothing else, it just looks cool. Made in the USA, Rochester Products. Rich, lean. Cool. Anyway, that's that. Generator does spin. Does spin if you could lift the damn thing and get a hold of it. So it turns. It's just bottom, it's dragging. It got hammered somehow. Got hammered and it's dragging, so we'll have to straighten all that out. Maybe I can come up with a replacement pulley. That one's eaten up a little bit, as you can see, but if we can get that off of there, get it pulled apart and straightened out enough where we can put 12 volts on her and just see if it'll spin. So it generates electricity, and if you run it back the other direction, it will spin it like a motor. That's all it is a motor backwards. So got its own little oil me here. Pretty nifty. Right there. There's your maintenance. So anyway, before we think about doing the switch to an alternator, we'll try to hook this back up, see if the regulator works too. You can rebuild those as well. But we get a lot of this. Everything we move and twist on, just piles of rust, as you can imagine. So anyway, that's where we're at. So we'll call this one quits. There's not really much else we can do until I figure out what kit I need for that carburetor. And that mystery oil does its magic, and we see if that'll turn. I'm probably not going to mess with this until we see whether or not the engine's going to go round and round and round. Because that is going to take a lot more money and time to mess with than that. So no use doing that unless we can get that working. So we'll go from there. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.